In today's video, I'll be discussing what genres I can use for my final A2 Media film trailer. Hope you enjoy. I have listed 5 genres that I'll be researching into in this video, and these are the genres that I have thought that I could use most, as they're all different, and I think that they can be very good for creating a trailer out of, but it's whether I can do it in terms of budget, and also whether I'm actually drawn to the subject and it's something that I enjoy. Action. This genre is very reliant on action and fight scenes. Blockbusters like Avengers and Mad Max rely on huge fight scenes to really sell their media product, and they usually smash the box office every time. I like this genre as it's so popular and very relatable to most audiences, but what I do not like is the heavy reliance on action, because in trailers you need to have some sort of dialogue, and with my position as a media student it's very hard to get a fight scene to look good and really attract the viewer, and I think that if I fail to attract the viewer, my trailer will go down as a failure, and even though it might look good to some other people might not enjoy it as much, and that's why I really want to include dialogue more than action. One notable mention from this genre is obviously going to be none other than Jurassic World, because I like how it's different, because most action scenes usually involve the protagonist and antagonist, but in Jurassic World the antagonist is the hybrid dinosaur, and obviously the protagonist is Chris Pratt. And it's different because it's not specifically between human and human, or in sci-fi films, aliens and humans. It's between dinosaur and humans. And I think that it's got a very interesting plot, and it's not something that you'd usually relate to the action genre, but it's still very good in creating the same action atmosphere as any other film like The Avengers and also Mad Max. And I must say that I don't usually enjoy action films, but I really did enjoy Jurassic World when I went to go see it. Crime. This can be classed as a subgenre, but the reason why I've chosen to look at this genre is because it has a good balance. It doesn't need action to make it a good film, and relies on both action and dialogue, which is so important for a film trailer. I love this genre because it's perfect for the theme that I want in my trailer, and I want my trailer to be psychological yet gripping. I do not like how the genre can be classed as a thriller film easily, however. Most crime films have aspects of thriller, but I think it will very good for me to choose to research the crime genre in more detail, as I think that it's perfect for what I'd like to achieve during my A2 Media coursework. And I think that it is very good because I like the thriller genre, but I think that I would more likely choose crime because I get to research into it specifically, because other crime films like The Wolf of Wall Street aren't thrillers, but they're crime films, which I think it can be classed as a subgenre, but also some people class it as a genre on its own, and this is exactly why I've chosen it. One notable mention is The Wolf of Wall Street, because it's so good and it's also very funny, and it's not really a genre that most people relate to The Wolf of Wall Street, because it's obviously a comedy, but it's still a crime film, because if you paid attention to the details when they're obviously conning people, same with Focus, I think that it's a very good film because it's not specifically linked to crime. Well, it is, but it's more linked to comedy. But I think that it's very good in doing what it does, because it tells a true story, like most crime films do, and that's exactly why it's my most favourite crime film, also along with The Godfather. But it's my favourite crime film because it's very unconventional yet conventional, and that's exactly why I've chosen it as my notable mention.
You told me that you tried to get your broker's license, also told me that you were a straight arrow.
You ran a security check on me.
Well, when you sail on a boat fit for a Bond villain, sometimes you need to play the part, right?
Sci-fi. This genre is very hard to create a good film trailer, but it's also so different and quite literally out of this world that it can be linked to any genre, which can be a very good thing to do when creating a film trailer. There are some fantastic films from the sci-fi genre, as there are action and crime, but I do not like how the sci-fi genre is very hard to use when being an A2 Media student. I would love to create a sci-fi film, as I'm a huge fan of films like Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think it would be too hard to create on a small budget compared to blockbusters, because I do not have a 50 million film budget to create it with, which I think it will be very hard to make it look good, and even if you do it on the low budget, it can still look a little bit tacky in some ways. But my main notable mention has got to be Star Wars, because there's 7 films now, one coming out in December, and I think that's so good because I'll more than likely go to see the Star Wars film, and even though I might not choose it as my genre, I still think that Star Wars is so good because it's created a wider audience, and it's also opened the door to many other different films like Guardians of the Galaxy to be as creative as they want to, because Star Wars has created its own universe and fan base, and it's not seen as a film anymore. It's seen as a sort of fan base for more people, because Star Wars films aren't everything. You've still got the merchandise and the animated series and stuff like that, so it's gone such a long way, and it might be due to George Lucas's main focus on marketing and also merchandise, because merchandise usually makes more than the sci-fi films themselves, which seems like quite a lot, because if you think about it, the films are making triple, more quadruple in the money that they had spent on the budget, and I think that's why films like Star Wars have got to be my notable mention, because they're so good at making money and also having a good film to research into. Horror. This genre is very hard to make scary, and it takes a lot of time to find what viewers find scary, as most films have already made what you will create. This is a great genre, but what I do not like is how it's not exactly enjoyable for a big audience, and that genre is so plain because of the reused plots for different films that it's hard to find a unique storyline to actually scare the viewers. I know that already that I will not be choosing this genre, as I feel that a bigger audience should be watching my film trailer, I would like them to enjoy it rather than hate it for all the wrong reasons. The main notable mention here has got to be The Purge, because it's a horror film, but it's also combined with so many other different genres, and I think that it's so good because it is genuinely scary, because I find it scarier than most other films like Paranormal Activity and things like that, because they're very predictable. But with The Purge, it's so different, and there's been no other film like it, and that's exactly why I love it, and it had to definitely be my notable mention. Thriller. This is a great genre, but it also has a good set of conventions which I can challenge and conform to. This genre can be scary unintentionally, and that is exactly why I love it. Many films from this genre do not use action, and psychological thrillers are very popular, which is why I like this genre. This genre doesn't have to be full of destruction and violence. They can rely on the viewer's interpretation of the film, and I think that is very important when making a film trailer. Psychological thrillers are very good at doing what they do, because they leave it up to the viewer's interpretations of the film. It's almost like cinematic art, and that's exactly why my notable mention has to be Enemy, because it's so different, and it's so difficult to explain in a video that you have to watch a 20-minute YouTube clip on describing it to yourself, because you don't know what to make of it yourself, because the film was very good, but actually realising that at the ending it's not exactly what you expect is so different, because you expect the main character to be two different people as he sees his own doppelganger, but he actually has two different personalities of himself, which is so weird but yet so very good at creating an audience, because most people would want to go see a film similar to that, and that is exactly why that had to definitely be my notable mention. Comedy is a very good film genre to use, but creating a trailer can be very hard with this, because you can't include too much of the comedy in the film, because it might ruin it. And also, as an A2 student, it would be very hard, because my humour can be very different to the next person's, and people might have a wide array of humour, because they might enjoy the sort of dark humour, but then they also might enjoy the light-hearted humour. But it's very difficult to describe what people find funny, because most people nowadays find a lot of things offensive, and that's why I think creating a comedy trailer would be very hard, because it might seem too cheesy, and most people might not enjoy it as much as a psychological thriller or a crime film, or even a psychological crime thriller. So that's why I will not be using it, although my notable mention has got to go to Ted, because I think it's so funny, and I enjoyed it, and the second one was also very good, but more specifically the first one. And also another notable mention has also got to be The Wolf of Wall Street, because it's very funny, and it's also linked to the crime genre, and that is exactly why I enjoyed it. But overall, the comedy genre is very good, but it's something that I can enjoy rather than create.
I would do at this moment.
Objection.
Overruled.
I've been Lewis Sillery. Thank you for watching my video about different genres that I could be using for my A2 media, and see you in the next video, in which I will choose my final genre that I will be using for my A2 Media coursework.